Well, Dave, such a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much for your time and the opportunity to have a conversation about fatherhood and your role as a father and just your journey.
I just have to tell you, Justin, next to my health, this is probably the top topic that I can talk about, and one in which means the most to me. So I appreciate you coming in here and interviewing me and talking with me about this topic.
Yeah, well, look, I've seen you online and admired you from a digital mentor perspective, and you're doing a lot of right things with your kids. You've got 4 kids of your own, 3 girls and a boy, and I've just watched you from a distance.
Can you give me water? Sorry.
No, you're good.
All right. We'll edit it. So
No worries. I've watched you from a distance and just being such an active and engaged father, but I know that you didn't really have an example in your life of an active or engaged father. Can you share with us the story of just your genesis of growing up and the role of your dad in your life?
Yeah, sure. My dad left when I was 5, and I never knew the effect of that on my life until I got older. So what happens is you hide or you close off some of the most painful things in your life, because my dad was my hero. I'm 53 years old. I get choked up talking about my father still today because he was my hero until I was 10, even though he left. And he was not a good father. Mm-hmm. He tried his best, which I learned as I got older too, but he wasn't a good father. And he, forgot to take me places. And, I saw the movie Chef when the kid stands outside in the front yard and the dad drives by. That actually happened to me. He was in his convertible Cadillac with his girlfriend who was closer to my age than his and just waved. And he was supposed to be taking me somewhere. There's so many different things that were missing. I was just lucky because I had great grandparents and an unbelievable mom. And so my mom had to fulfill the role of a father, but yet there's some things that a mom can't do. And so and I see so many athletes like this. I wanted to prove, that my dad was proud of me. Ironically, by making a lot of money, helping my mom, but being a good dad. Like, it was my dream to buy my mom a house and a car, but it was also my dream someday to prove that I could be the dad that I wanted. And that's why I think there was 4 things that were missing that I think are most important to be a father. And one is to be happy. So, your kids, so many parents think their kids are for them, right? And I think my father thought I was for him, and I thought I was for him, but my kids are through me. So the number one thing I want for my kids to be is happy and healthy, number 2. And then I want them to love me, and then finally appreciate me, meaning appreciation is a little different in my mind. It's not that I want them to be grateful for me. I want them to acknowledge that I add value to their life. Now, that was the one that my father did in the wrong way. So I think parents can, especially fathers, can be bad examples that become appreciation because we get motivated. We have a chip on our shoulder. I know Reggie Bush, who's a famous running back, his whole motivation was to prove that he was better than his father. I know so many grown men who are motivated, inspired just to be better or to be what their father wasn't to them. And that's a sort of appreciation, right? My father added value to my life. And, to this day, there's several things. We ended up having a relationship later on in life. Yep. And my dad, when I was 30, tried to redeem himself and start teaching me things, but I wasn't ready to learn. Which we can get to.
Well, I think it's interesting when you hear your story that it almost created this results-based mentality in your life where you wanted to prove something to your dad and to the world, right? Because you didn't have him involved in your life. And one of the things that we talk about a lot in Daddy Saturday is the importance of putting relationship over results, right? And when my kids play sporting events, I grew up very, very performance-based. My dad at times, he wouldn't be home when I got back after a game because he was disappointed in my performance and he was living through me, or he wouldn't talk to me after a game, and it crushed me. And so a lot of my affirmation or validation came from my father based on my performance. And so I carried that with me in my life, right? Much like you, I was trying to succeed and gain titles and status and money and all the things to gain that recognition from my dad and other men. And I realized it was the wrong path to go down. And it really, with my own kids, it's about putting relationship over results. So what are some of the ways that maybe you have also fostered the relationship with your own 4 kids? And if you're a kid that's listening to this, and you don't have an active dad in your life, how do you seek out that mentor who can help build that relationship?
Yeah, for me, it stems from consistency. I never realized the power of consistency, and I started utilizing it in my own life with my own children and with my mom and dad. So my dad passed when he was 80 a few years ago, but I realized that by spending even 2 minutes a day with a child is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. I know you wrote your book, Daddy Saturday. For me, the consistent nature of a relationship is connectivity. And it doesn't take a lot of time to stay connected, to clear the interference that exists not only between us and the most powerful source of light, love, and lessons, but more importantly, between us and others. Which, to me, that consistent nature of knowing the 4 things, reminding, I call my mom, as my non-negotiable minimum, so it's not every time, minimum 1 minute a day. And I make sure I tell her those 4 things. I'm healthy, I'm happy, I love her, and appreciate her.
So good.
And then you talked about results. You know, for me, I think there are certain results that I want, and they're very simple. I always tell my kids, because I want to empower them to do their best. You see, the result is, to me, the enjoyment of the pursuit, that consistent, persistent pursuit of our relationship, of doing their best to reach their own potential. 2, I want them to learn something. And 3, I want them to have fun. So the results that I look for or ask about within the context of my fatherhood is always, and it's the same I do in business. You know, are you doing your best? What'd you learn? And are you having fun? Are you happy? I think if more parents, especially fathers, would go ahead and take pride in that. For me, it was interesting. You were talking about your dad's approval. My dad never in his entire life told me he was proud of me. I still choke up thinking in his life. I was so desperate for him to say those words to me.
Every kid is.
That when he passed, my wife believes in mediums, you know, and that stuff. And so her dad passed, so she wanted to talk to her father through a medium. Well, my dad interrupted into this, and this is what my wife told me. I wasn't there. So she comes home and she tells you, "You're not gonna believe it. Your dad interrupted me, and he had all these things to say, but he wanted me to tell you one thing, that he was proud of you."
Wow.
So whether it's true or not, the fact of how much it still means to me, even though rationally, like I teach this stuff, I can't get over the emotional tie that he supposedly in some ether thinks that he's proud of me, or just the idea means that much to me. Still, I'm still processing, I'm still learning. That to me is why I'm so inspired to be a better father, because if he can, by denying me that, impact me that much, imagine what power I have with my own children.
Absolutely.
To remind them, remember, remind, recollect them as one, that how proud I am of them, because they're doing their best, they're learning stuff, and they're having fun.
Yeah, if you're a dad listening to this, I don't want you to miss that. The importance of letting your children know that you're proud of them and how important that is. And you can never say it enough. And there are so many kids that go through life without ever hearing that. And I think for boys, it's even more important. Boys really want to hear, "I'm proud of you." For girls, oftentimes in our family, what we say to our daughter is, "I love you, I see you, you matter, and you're beautiful."
I love that.
And those three or four things. And in fact, a great tip for dads real quick, and you can even steal this one. I write it on my daughter's mirror, or I'll text it to her. And I say it to her as often as I possibly can, just so she has those 4 things ingrained in her mind. And to my sons, it's always, "I'm proud of you."
Yeah, for mine, I have 1 son and 3 daughters, and I say, I love you. I want them to know that.
Yes.
I'm proud of you, and I always have your back.
And that's so good.
Like I want them to know that, and we have a terribly, very, very open relationship with our children. And why do I say terribly? Because if you have 3 teenage daughters, which you'll never have, you'll have 1. To give them the gift of openness is not a fatherhood blessing for you.
Sure.
When you hear everything because they're comfortable, is a blessing, but for them, because I can tell you that I've had to literally, my tongue has bled into my dinner food because I am sitting there going, okay, there's a balance between being honest and actually hearing the honesty.
Sure. It's a blessing and a burden at the same time.
It's a big burden, but I would encourage everyone to do that. And so those are the type of things that I never had with my father. But yet, I will tell you, it's like being poor. You know, when I speak around the world, I'll say to everyone, you know, I grew up poor. I grew up with nothing, 6 kids and a single mom, 2 jobs, packed my dinner in a paper bag, filling turnstiles at the convenience stores with greeting cards just so we could eat. Who here grew up poor? And half the crowd always raises their hand.
Sure.
And then I'll say, I feel sorry for the rest of you because you'll never be able to learn what I did.
That's right.
Same thing with having a bad father. I can't teach my children what I learned from that. Now, not everybody learns it. And I wouldn't want to wish it upon anyone. And I don't want to teach my children that way. But I'm not a negative person. I find the light, the love, and the lessons in everything. I see pain, setbacks. So if you're out there as a child and you don't have a father, yes, I think it's equally important to understand you have some huge benefits that come your way. It's not a perfect world. And pain is an indicator. It's an indicator that you have a better place, a better position, or a better situation to be in and to provide. And so some of the best fathers out there are the best fathers because they don't have one. And you have an opportunity, if you don't have a father, to find the light, the love, and the lessons in the situation, to find a mentor that can be proud of you like That's I did. You can find grandparents and uncles. But I will tell you this, I was able to find other milestones. My dad was my hero till I was 10. He forgot my birthday, which isn't a big deal, but he lied to me. He said, I don't believe in birthdays. And it destroyed me because at that time at 10, it wasn't that he forgot my birthdays. He was celebrating my sibling's birthday, his girlfriend's birthday. I knew he believed in birthdays. It was the fact that my dad lied to me.
That's right.
He was a cheater, a manipulator, an overseller, a back-end seller. And the reason it really hurt is because I knew in my own quantum being, I was just like my father. And I hated myself because I saw myself in what I hated about my father. And it took me years and years to process. My dad even warned me at 30 that I was just like him. The next birthday present my dad gave me was at 30, a jacket with no pockets to tell me that money doesn't buy love, that I was just like him. I was going to be the richest man in the cemetery. So he gave me a jacket to hang in my closet I could never wear to remind me that money doesn't buy love or happiness. And I wasn't ready to hear it from him. I could have reestablished my relation. It was so ironic because that's all I wanted. And I was so excited when he gave me the gift because I'm like, oh, he finally gets it. Meanwhile, he did. He finally got it. But now at 30, it was like cats in the cradle. I didn't get it. And I told him, F you, I hate you. You're a liar, a cheater, manipulator, overseller, back-end seller. Mm-hmm. Not till years later did I realize that the reason I hated him was he was just like me. And that jacket saved my life when my wife told me those things about myself. And I was ready not to listen to it until I saw that jacket, and it changed my life. And so ironically, my dad was one of the most significant figures in my life, not for what he did, for what he didn't do, and then what he tried to do later on in my life.
That's so powerful. I want every kid listening to hear that, right? That there are light, love, and lessons, you said, that you can take from everything in life. And even if there's pain, there's a purpose in the pain. And if you don't have a father, don't have an engaged father in your life, there's a way you can turn that into a positive and use that to your advantage. But you have to be very intentional about how you do that. Otherwise, it can lead you down a road where it can create some really bad habits or really bad pursuits for you in life. And I know you mentioned a lot around your definition of success and happiness, right? And that's a huge part of your platform. And you want to see your kids be happy. You want to inspire others to be happy and achieve that. And you've gone down a windy road of success and happiness across your personal journey. So talk to some of the dads and the kids out there around how you define success now and what led you to that definition.
So there's 3 worlds. And my original world I grew up in is I call the world of not enough. And some of you kids may live in this world where everything's happening to you. There's not enough of anything. and you just want more, and you ask yourself, why me? Why can't I have that dad? Why can't I have that car, that house? Why me? Everyone seems to have it easier. And that's the world I grew up in, and I was a victim. Everything happened to me. And then I made a lot of money by enjoying the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential to buy my mom a house and a car, which I did 9 months out of law school. And then money became my definition of happiness. Money bought love and happiness. Money was, if I made, my bank account went up, I was happy. If it went down, I was sad. I defined myself by how much money I make. My nickname was Money Money. I mean, everything was evolved around that. I was in competition with my father to make more money than he ever had. Yep. I wanted him to be proud of me because I made a lot of money. And that's the world of for me. And I even was a philanthropist. I gave millions of dollars away, but as a trade, as a negotiation for acknowledgement and recognition. You know, I didn't do it in an abundant attitude. And that's where I want everyone to realize that I transformed into this world of more than enough. So I wasn't buying things I didn't need. If I was unhappy, I'd buy things I didn't need, different things I didn't need, more things I didn't need. I'd buy things to impress people. I'd even buy things to impress people I didn't like. That's how bad off I was. But I called it the world of for me. But the third world of more than enough of everything for everyone, an abundant world, is the one that I moved into. And I moved into it even before I lost everything. I, in my 30s, lost over $100 million. And through abundance, through the idea that I used to give to receive, but now I receive so I can give, which is a fatherly thing.
That's right.
I'm motivated. I want everything to come through me for others, especially my children.
It's so good.
Right? I have a variance of relativity, it's called, that I believe that we're one, but yet, although everyone is one, that we have people that are more relative to us within the oneness. Our children are the most relative to us. And then we have our wives or spouses and our parents and other relatives, friends, family, associates, etc. But everybody knows your children are the most relative. They actually have physically come through you.
That's right. That's right.
And it makes a difference. So I think, you know, in that variance, to understand the relativity of your children, and as children to understand the relativity. It changed my life. I know you're a faith-based person like me, but this one statement changed my life. And I'll try to say it without choking up. I never understood my relationship with God and the power of that, right? I could see a mountain in front of me, and all I could think of is I can get over that mountain, I get through that mountain, I get around that mountain. Nothing's gonna stop me. I'm the little train that could. I am not a quitter, right? I'm gonna be better than my dad. And then I realized that which made the mountain walks with me.
That's right.
And that what changed my life is this one statement is, as a father, someone told me, imagine how you feel about your children, the relativity of you to your children. No matter who, I know my dad felt this about me, even though he couldn't show it, right? People have problems sometimes expressing the way they feel.
Sure.
My father was one of those people, like most fathers. Well, anyway, someone told me, God feels that way about you. So whatever you believe in God, you can call it Source, Muhammad, Jesus, Joseph Smith, Buddha, I don't care. But there's a source that feels the same way that you feel about your children, except for one thing, far more powerful. Exactly. But I can't do everything for my children that I want. God can do everything, right? Unbelievable. And that changed my whole perspective of what walks with me and through me, because that relationship is one of a father and a son. And I had the same capability as a father to give everything unconditionally in a world of more than enough. And I think as a child, you know, we can find that power, because whether you have a father who's there or not, like I did, you have a father. There is a source, call it what you want, that gives me the superpower of GPS, that not only will reroute me when I get a flat tire, miss an exit, go to the donut shop instead of to the grocery store. It's going to reroute me, but it's also going to change my destination to a better one at all times. And pain, struggles, setbacks, failures are the way that God indicates that you have a lesson to learn to get there. It's just an indicator, not a stop sign. You're not a victim. It's not for you. It's through you, for your benefit and others. And I think that is the lesson that I learned as a father and as a son.
Such a good lesson. I think for the dads, it's important to acknowledge that you're not doing fatherhood alone, right? That you have a father that loves you and is trying to guide you in that role as a father and has an example for you that's been set in front of you. And that at the same time, you don't have to do fatherhood alone as an individual. There's communities of other fathers who are struggling just like you that you can get involved with. Fatherhood is not meant to be done in isolation. And as a kid, same thing. Whether you have a dad in your life or not, right? You have a God who loves you and wants to help you along that journey and guide you through that process. Well, final question. You're the master of the 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
So we can play the 2-minute drill and just ask you in final parting words, any last words that you'd give to the dads, and then same thing with the kids in terms of, for the dads, what would they need to do to reach their potential as a father? And then for the kids, how do they reach their potential as a kid?
Sure. So as a father, remember this, your children don't listen to you. But they watch you.
That's right.
So they watch you. So you don't have to do anything else than be kind and do the right things, do good deeds. Still today, one of the most powerful things about my father that I remember is when I was visiting him, we were at a motel, and there was a homeless person in the stairwell, and he picked the guy up, really dirty, bat off, brought him into the coffee shop, had him eat breakfast with us. And my sister was, the type of Beverly Hills, just, it was and his kindness, all the things I remember.
Yeah.
Because I watched him.
That's right.
He told me a whole bunch of stuff. He yelled at me, told me what he knew, never listened. I still can't remember one of those things that he thought was genius that he was telling me, but I remember that watching him. So your children don't listen to you, they watch you. That's the biggest lesson as a father. And then obviously the consistent side every day. For children, you're loved. Do your best, learn lessons, but you no matter what you think, your father's not there or is there, what he thinks about you, I will tell you this, I know this, that God and your own father can only feel unconditional love for you. Your real father, your biological father, may not be able to express the unconditional love because they don't have the capacity to do so, because it's such an amazing, powerful feeling. But don't deny yourself the confidence that they're proud of you, they love you, they have your back, they just can't express it. And whether they're with you or not, always know that what is with you is that love, appreciation, and those lessons.
Dave, thank you so much. This was an amazing conversation. I know that the fathers and the kids listening will get a tremendous amount out of this. I want to thank you for your generosity of just telling your story. It's very emotional for you, obviously,
Yeah.
and thank you for being open and sharing that. And that's a really important lesson for everybody listening, that we all have a story. And if we're willing to share our story, we can help other people. So thank you for your generosity in that.
Please, and anyone that I send my book to everyone, I have an Unstoppable book, a Connected to Goodness book. All you fathers and kids out there, email me directly, david@dmeltzer.com. I'll sign it, I'll ship it, I'll pay for shipping, I'll pay for the book. So please reach out. I want to share the empowerment that I learned to help people be happy, to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun with their lives.
Thank you so much. Well, as always, for the dads, be intentional, be engaged, and make it a great Daddy Saturday.
Sweet.
Good stuff. I was cheering up over here. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
That was great.
That's good stuff.
We got
read this.
We have a lot of common